Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about BlizzCon 2019 and how did you like it? Did you enjoy the World of Warcraft Shadowlands expansion announcement? Did you like the different features that they're introducing? Covenants, Torghast Tower of the Damned, the legendaries that are not RNG, more class specific buttons to press in terms of which spec you're gonna go with. A lot of different announcements have been revealed. There's a lot of information out there. I'm sure a lot of people have seen multiple different changes that are happening with the new expansion, and they have a lot of how do I put it, responses or maybe feelings towards the new expansion. Do you feel it was hype enough? How do you feel about the cinematic? How do you feel about Sylvanas playing a big role in the next expansion as well? Sylvanas has been on basically everywhere, and a lot of people have been upset about maybe the cinematic or where the lore is going, but in terms of all the new things that have been announced, they have been amazing. In my honest opinion, they've been really amazing. A lot of the things, or I've seen a few comments saying like, oh hey, I don't like the new systems being introduced. The point is, none of the, or majority of the systems announced are not new. They've all been taken out from different expansions, changed a little bit, wrapped in a different ball of package, and presented to you as something that's new. Majority of systems have been tested, majority of systems have been viewed as good. Things like Covenants, which you can compare to Aldros and Squires. Legendaries were present in Legion, but now you can get legendaries without the RNG. A lot of people will assume that is the better shape or better way of delivery. Class balance, or in terms of making classes feel more unique, taking away the whole aspect of, hey, if you choose to play a different spec, it's not gonna feel like a complete new class. It's not gonna feel like you're playing something else. So they're unpruning classes. They're bringing like, Ursak Vortex to all the druids. They're bringing persistent totems for shamans. They're bringing back auras. There is a whole lot of things. And one of my favorite one is the priest one, where you can use Shadow World Death as holy or discipline. And that just sounds insane. But that just sounds so cool. So overall, you're getting the class feeling. In Classic, you have a lot of classes with a lot of these situational buttons, or basically a lot of these class specific abilities that are there regardless of whether you choose this spec or choose this talent spec. You still have those class specific abilities. So that's what Blizzard is doing in the new retail version. They're trying to get the flavor of classic class balance for retail. Can you blame them? They're taking a whole lot of different aspects, or they're trying to tell you we're listening. We're trying to get the best expansion out there, with the feedback that we received from Classic, with the feedback that we received from arguably one of the best expansions they released, and that is Legion. So you're taking the best two expansions, but I mean there's a debate there, but two best expansions, combining them together to release Shadowlands. A lot of people probably have heard things like Covenants, they probably heard like Tower or Torghast Tower of the Damned, and they're like, they saw the ideas and they're like, they like it or not. So Covenants, first of all, like I mentioned before, Aldo and Scry are very similar to that. In terms of Covenant abilities, they seem really cool. There's a list of all the Covenant abilities for specific classes. They seem really cool. There's more buttons to press. There's more choices to make the feel meaningful to your class. A lot of the Covenant abilities have been already shown, and they're kind of trying to balance Shrouded Mythic Plus. Like, look at certain abilities that are on the screen right now. They're to do with things like skipping trash mobs, becoming invisible, dropping aggro, whatever. So all of a sudden, Blizzard is letting all the Covenants have abilities that will reduce the effectiveness of Shroud, maybe reduce the effectiveness of Shadow Meld, and that is good. They're doing it without actually nerfing Shroud. They're doing it without actually nerfing Racials. They're trying to introduce more abilities similar to those, so you're not forced to bring a rogue because, hey, we can't do this dungeon in time if we don't have a rogue, and we don't want to use an invisibility potion. So Blizzard is already trying to balance Mythic Plus by introducing new abilities. Again, they're trying to tell you, hey, we're listening to you and we're trying to get this feedback. We heard you. We don't want rogues to have this monopoly on stealth. We want everyone else to have stealth abilities so you can do a dungeon without having a rogue. So I think that's actually pretty cool. And I would love to hear opinions about how you feel about this. And again, you have Tower, or Torghast Tower of the Damned, which is relatively new concept. I thought it was like something like a mage tower, where you can do it as solo or with a group of friends. And if you decide to do a solo, you get placed in NPC group. And if you're a healer, you get to heal the NPCs. And I was like, okay, this is going to be something similar to that. No, it feels like it's going to be something completely different in terms of climbing, dealing damage, solving puzzles. trying to gather anima, trying to gather crafting materials for legendaries, because legendaries can only be gathered from Torghast Tower of the Damned. The only thing that I'm not 100% certain on in terms of this concept is that how are healers going to deal with this? Because majority of the abilities that you get, or improvements on top of your existing abilities that you get in Torghast, are to do with dealing damage. So is there going to be a disadvantage of a healer who decides to, they're gonna have to deal DPS, trying to kill mobs, trying to do it, again, there's no time associated with Torghast, so you can take as long as you want, but is it going to be efficient to do it as a healer versus a damage dealer who can deal more damage and get, improvements to their abilities to do with damage? Because it's not role-specific dungeon. You don't have to have a specific role to do it. So I'm not sure how they're gonna balance that, but overall, I'm super excited. This is solo content. This is the content that you can do yourself. If you're a type of person that has like maybe half an hour or an hour in a day, and you don't want to group up, you don't want to spend the time to find a player or whatever, or maybe you just want to do content with your wife or husband or whatever, your friend, and it doesn't mean you want to do a 5-man dungeon. Maybe you just want to, you have 2 friends in the whole World of Warcraft and you want to do content with just them. Torghast is that solution for you. It's something that it doesn't require a whole lot of planning. You go into it, it gets progressively harder, and you get legendary. So to be honest, MMO game who doesn't really promote group play is not that bad, because I feel a lot of people out there, even though in MMO game they want to play by themselves, and retail catering towards that is really not that terrible of an idea. And the 2 things that I want to talk about is the 2 things that were leaked but did not happen. And the number 1 thing is the cross-faction play between Alliance and Horde. So if you're Horde, you want to play with Alliance, that might have been possible. And that is not going to be possible because it's been mentioned by multiple different interviewers that we're not going to do that because of the lore aspect. We don't know how to fit it in. We want that. I think the people mentioned that they want you to feel like you made a really important choice when you chose Horde and Alliance. My honest opinion, I don't like it. I feel that there is so much imbalance between Horde and Alliance at this given time. I feel like Alliance is probably the preferred PvE faction. A lot of the guilds, or actually, sorry, that's the other way around. If you're Alliance, you probably at certain point in World of Warcraft have been asked to join Horde because Horde is easier to find PvE or high-end players. A lot of the times, maybe some of your friends decide to go Horde, but you want to be Alliance and you can't play with them. A lot of the times, some of the server clusters that are present, there's not a whole lot of faction balance going on, and you can't find guilds, you can't find people to play or queue. So all of a sudden I was like, this is like a no-brainer solution that's gonna increase your population by at least half, because you'll be able to play together. There's already existing modes in the game that allow for this. It's not something crazy new. Mercenary mode in PvP allows for both factions to play together to reach the same goal when they don't have enough players for that battleground or whatever. So it's not like Blizzard would be like out of nowhere, oh my god, this is completely new, I've never done this before. Aspects of this are already present in the game, but a lot of the developers mentioned that, or a lot of the game designers mentioned that, it's going to be hard to work with lore. We want you to feel like you made the right choice or a big choice when choosing Alliance and Horde. Please leave your comments about this, because I feel there's going to be a lot of people agreeing and a lot of people disagreeing with me. In my eyes, this is a clear option. In my eyes, do it. It's gonna, the balance, or it's gonna be more people to play with. But I know there's going to be a lot of people who will disagree with this, and I want to know your opinion. If you disagree with this option of cross-faction play, leave a comment below, let me know why. And I really want to know your opinion and actually really see your point of view. And the second option is, or the second question I want to talk about, there is no new classes. Blizzard has broken a lifelong tradition of having a new class every second expansion, and is it justified? Do you feel there should have been a new class introduced? Do you think there was going to be more hype? In my honest opinion, the game does not need a new class. It has 36 specs, and majority of the specs might not be optimal, they might not be fun to play, so maybe new abilities from Covenants, new abilities from Torghast, new abilities from legendaries, unpruning is gonna create new specs that feel really good, that feel really viable, optimal, fun to play, and all of a sudden, who cares about a new class when you can play half of the specs and they feel great? But the hype inside me would have been so happy if there was a new class. I would have been so happy if there would have been a new male wearer, because we need a new male wearing class. And leaks were mentioning there's going to be a tinker class, there's going to be a healer class, there's going to be engineering based abilities, spells and all that. And I was like, oh man, I know you might not need a new spec, you might not need a new healer, you might not need a new class, but goddamn, it gets me hyped. There's something about it, a new class to play with, new talents, new abilities, still get me really hyped. So I am disappointed about it, but I don't feel it's a deal breaker. Overall, my whole opinion about BlizzCon 2019 is that it's been a very big success. A lot of the systems have been tested, have been used before. They're not really introducing something crazy new except for the tower or Torghast Tower of the Damned, which could be really cool if it's done properly. I'm really excited. And in terms of patch 8.3, there has been mentions about essences not being account-wide, which feels just terrible in my opinion, because I feel alts is one of the driving force for me to play the game at this given point. The main point of playing this game is so I could play alts, and grinding the same stuff over and over again feels terrible. But they have mentioned in 8.3 that they want to reduce some of the requirements. Again, not set in stone. Requirements, things like you don't need Exalted to get rank 3 in terms of reputation. You can just get Revered and you get rank 3 of the specific essence, which cuts your grinding time by a whole lot. And I feel if they do decide to go with that, that's going to be great. Really great. And in terms of Titan Forging and War Forging in the new expansion, they have no idea what they're going to do with it. They're waiting to see how patch 8.3 corrupted item system is going to play out. And if people's reaction to it is pretty good, in my eyes. If it's good reaction, they might bring it into the new expansion. So that's the news in terms of the new patch 8.3. There's not a whole lot of news about this. In general, a summary, BlizzCon was a success. There maybe could have been more success with certain other additions, but I want to know your opinions. This is a discussion video, and if you like this video, like, subscribe and all that stuff. It really helps out the channel. I'll see you in my next video.